Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I am going to be explaining the differences between SUM and SUMX. Now I know a lot of people use SUMX, and they'll be like, oh, but they'll give me the same results now. What's the point? Guys, there is a huge difference between SUM and SUMX, and I'm going to be showing you practical experiences, telling you everything you need to know. So please watch this video to the end, because all the information that will be passed across in this video is very critical. The first one, we are going to be working with this very popular data set. I'm sure you know this data set by now. You must have heard of adventure work data set. I'm just going to walk you through the table we are going to be working with. So we're going to be, for the course of this tutorial, we're going to be working with the sales table. Here we have the sales order date, products. Basically, this sales table captures the entry of order made in Adventure Works. Now, quantity and unit price. This sales column you can see here is a multiplication of quantity and unit price. So 3 multiplied by this is going to give you this. It's going to give you this sales. So that was how this column came about. Now straight up into explaining the differences between SUM and SUMX, we are going to head right into writing our DAX measure. Now there's something I like to do. I like to have my DAX measure in a folder. I can just come to any of these tables and say new DAX, go ahead and write DAX. But people that know me before now know that I like to have my things organized, and I would also encourage you to do same. Now, how do I go about that? Create a DAX folder by go to home, click on enter data. I'm going to call this DAX measures, because all the measures we're going to be writing during the course of this tutorial is going to be sitting here. Okay, now this is my DAX measure. But guess what, guys? It is still looking like a table, because I went to create table, I went to home and enter data, create table. So, but it's going to change in a bit. Now, I just want you to observe with me. Now, let's head straight to creating our SUM function. On this DAX measure, you would see 3 dots. Click on it, and you see new measure. Go ahead to click on it. We have this. Now, we are going to call our new measure how to use SUM function. The SUM function is used when you want to calculate the sum of a column, just one column. You are going to see it right here. It takes just one entry. The SUM function takes just one entry, and it allows you to add up all the values in a column. Now, if you click on SUM, this is the function. You can see one beautiful thing I love about Power BI is any function you enter is going to describe it for you, just in case you have forgotten how to use that function. And you can see column name. So the column name you're going to be working with is the sales column, which is this. I showed you the sales column. The way we call the sales column is we multiply the unit price by the quantity. It's just like saying you want to go to the supermarket and buy something. If 1 pen is sold for 2 naira or $2, then 2 pens will be sold for $4 or 4 naira, as the case may be. So we're just going to input this, close bracket, and commit or click the enter key on your keyboard. All right, now we have. So quickly, I am going to click on a visual, which is table. I just want you to see practically what SUM function and how SUM function and SUMX differs. So we are going to go to product and select category. We have 4 categories rather here, and we are going to click on the new measure we just created. Now, before we do that, this DAX measure still looks like a table. We are going to change that in a second. Go to this column 1, click on 3 dots, and delete from model. Notice that this icon is going to change. I want you to observe with me. Okay, now you can see that your DAX measure has changed. So every DAX you're going to be writing is going to be sitting here, just to keep things organized. Now quickly, still on the table, click the how to use sum function, and you can see. So what this sum does is, let's go back to our table view. What we just did with sum function, we just added all these columns together. Now what of SUMX? Quickly, let's write another DAX. Click on DAX measure, click on new measure. X allows you to do a row by row calculation. It is an iterator that it goes through table row by row and it performs calculation for each row. Now I don't know if that is sounding too technical, but you're going to understand it very practicable in a bit. Now let's write a DAX. How to use SUMX function. SUMX. Now you can see Power BI has already explained it. SUMX return the sum of expression evaluated for each row in a column. The first entry SUMX takes is a table. Now a table in Power BI can be either a physical table or a virtual table. I'm going to be showing you an instance using a physical table first. So for instance, we are going to be working with the sales table expression. The first expression can be, we are going to say, multiply unit price by quantity. And this is another example. So this is the table. Let's click on how to use. You can see that they are the same, and some people will say, oh, since they are the same, why can't I just use SUMX? Chill, just hold on. Now SUMX do not just take multiplication, it can take division, it can take subtraction, and I'm going to show you all of what I've talked about in a bit. You can also call in other DAX function in SUMX, like the if function, divide function, and function, or function. SUMX is versatile, and I'm going to be showing you ways you can use SUMX. Now another instances of SUMX, let's go to our DAX measure, new DAX. We are going to title it use SUMX another way. We're going to title it use SUMX another way. Now here is another way you can use SUMX. SUMX function, let's call a physical table sales. We are going to use an if function inside SUMX function. See, SUMX function is so versatile. You can use several DAX function inside it. You can use several functions inside. You can even call up a DAX inside a SUMX. Basically, anywhere you find the expression, just know that you can use multiplication, division. You can call up a DAX that has already been created, or you can call up several functions. So we're going to be using if function. That's how versatile the SUMX is. So if you've just been using SUMX the wrong way, so you know that, okay, these are ways you can explore and use SUMX. So let's use the if function inside SUMX. Now our logic is going to be, if sales order date is greater than, let's call it, is greater than 2019, let's call it 1st of January. So the result, if true, multiply sales unit price by sales quantity, else 0. So close the bracket for if and close the bracket for SUMX. Okay, that has been done. So let's quickly view it. Click on a table and click on another way to use SUMX. So now you can see that SUMX is not limited. You cannot just, I've seen people use SUMX in this manner. Let me show you. Let me show you real quick. Let's call this wrong way to use SUMX. Wrong way to use SUMX. And then they'll say SUMX, and then they'll call the table name, and then they'll go ahead and call the column name. No, I mean, if you have to do this, then just use sum. If you are dealing with one column, where you just need the aggregation, go ahead and use SUM. However, if you are going to be requiring a row by row aggregation, you want it to calculate before it aggregates, please use SUMX. You can see how I used, like I said, this is not going to give you a wrong answer. As a matter of fact, it's going to give you an accurate answer. So let me show you quickly. So you can see the answers are all the same. However, there are better ways to use it. Like there are ways to explore SUMX. So this is one way I showed you here, how to explore SUMX. You can see we wrote an if statement inside this to give us sum of orders that is above 1st of January 2019. Let's try to write another SUMX. Let me show you other ways you can use SUMX function. So let's just explore and play around it a little bit. Another way, let's call it another way to use SUMX. Another way to use SUMX. Another way to use SUMX. Now, SUMX, you know what, this time around, let's call a virtual table. We're going to create a virtual table immediately, and let's call it product category. We've created a virtual table already. Then the next one is the expression. So let's write an expression that says let's use the if statement again. If product category is bike, let's pick this one, total sales. I have a measure here called total sales. Give me total sales, else give me 0. So let's save this and let's just go ahead and add these DAX to this table so you can see. And that way too. So this is it. You can see the result. So what this formula does is, with SUMX, you've been able to create a virtual table using values, and the expression used is if product category is equal to bike, and then you picked an already created DAX inside the SUMX. You can't do this with SUM, by the way. So this is one way to create to use SUMX. You can use SUMX function. I hope that going forward you will be able to maximize it. I mean, I don't want to see somebody with one colon using SUMX anymore. If you have to aggregate a single colon, just go ahead and use SUM. And then if you want to carry out calculations before aggregations, like these instances I showed you here, I'm just gonna open it real quick. Like these instances I showed you here. If you want to do this, if you want to have another DAX, if you want to have another function inside, use the SUMX. If you want to carry out multiplication, division, whatever function you want to use, just go ahead and use the SUMX. You can also use the SUMX by calling, you can also use the SUMX where you have the table. You can use a virtual table, or you can use a physical table, like I did here. So there are several ways you can use the SUMX. I don't want you limiting yourself. This is just, I don't want to make this video longer than it is already, so I'm just going to tell you, go out there, explore on your own practice. And I'm going to be making a series of functions in Power BI, functions and how to use them, where to use them. So please like, share, subscribe and follow me, because you're going to be seeing more and more function. Before you watch this series I'll be producing finish, you're going to be so good with writing DAX formulas. Anyways, thank you for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if it impacts you or it helped you at some point, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.